Welcome to Formula One and Son. I'm Tom.
And I'm Oscar.
Well, Oscar, we're a week after the Chinese Grand Prix now, and a week before the Baku Grand Prix, and I've got to say, Bahrain, that was an exciting race. Had everything going for it. Heart stopper from start to finish.
You already said all of this in the last episode.
I know.
So if you have not seen Dad marvel at the Bahrain Grand Prix, be sure to check out the last episode. And for those of you who don't know, because Dad's made it very confusing, this is episode 4, not 3.
Yeah, we're reviewing the Chinese Grand Prix, but I guess my point was, Oscar, to contrast. I was so excited after Bahrain, and it's easy, I think, to say that the Chinese Grand Prix was a snore fest. Actually, and it's a shame, but I've had to do a bit of reflection, watch a few F1 TV clips of various people's laps and incidents, and actually there's a fair bit that went on. And I guess my opening comment, before we start talking about quali in the race, my opening comment was the TV direction was all over the place this weekend. And I think it probably wasn't the Grand Prix that Bahrain was, but nonetheless, there's still plenty going on, but the TV direction just blew me away. Do you recall that they would zoom?
It was showing people just by themselves, zoom along the track. Well, there are battles, like you can see in the timing area. There are battles going along elsewhere, but they're just showing this car that has a 10-second gap to the car in front and behind.
Yeah, it was frustrating, wasn't it, when you're sitting there going, hang on, I can see in the timing that someone's in DRS, they're getting closer, and they wouldn't show it. But also, the camera would swing to the last corner all the time in this really shocking way, like someone had just got off the track, right where Albon went off the track.
It's almost like they just cut to the camera too early every time.
But there was nothing to see either. They'd cut to the camera and you'd be like, and what am I watching? The funny thing about that is it was often Ricciardo. So I thought, oh no, Ricciardo's breaking down. Oh no, there goes his MG UK. But it was just, that was just bizarre camera direction. So say what you will about the Grand Prix, I think it was let down a little bit by the TV direction, really not showing the best of it, even though the best of it probably wasn't on the level of Bahrain. But anyway, that is what it is. We've talked about F1 TV before, and I guess the shame of that for me is, if you're an enthusiast like we are, you'll go back and you'll go, I wonder what happened. I want to see the onboard of Kyvat and Sainz and Lando in that incident. We'll see the team radio as the teams talked about it afterwards. But none of that was on the
Yeah, that was when we watched the replay on the F1 TV later.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, we'll come back to the action in the race. First of all, let's talk about quali. Oddly, probably the talking point of quali was that everyone tripped over themselves in Q3, left it really late to go out for their second runs. For Haas, it was their only run. And then everyone got upset because they had to overtake each other right near the penultimate lap to get in because they were running out of time.
And going back a bit before that, surprisingly, Albon did not go out, unsurprisingly. Sorry, Albon did not go out, but Giovinazzi didn't either.
Yeah, no, he had some issues, didn't he? Poor old Giovinazzi. We don't talk about him much on this podcast because there's not been much to say. Yeah. He's had a lot of bad luck. He's kind of been nowhere. To some extent, even Raikkonen in the other Alfa Romeo, we don't talk about a whole lot. But actually, Raikkonen's coming, best of the rest in the championship, I think, because he's just had points finishes in every race, but kind of not exciting. They didn't have mega speed in quali here, and Giovinazzi had that issue, and he's had a bad start to his Alpha career, not due to poor performance, I don't think, but just a bit of bad luck. But Albon's FP3 crash, what did you think about that?
It was really bad. I think after the race and maybe the paddock pass, I think they showed a G-force meter, and at peak that reached 50 Gs.
Wow, that's insane. Yeah, it was like 49 G or something,
It
wasn't
was really high, and it was a tank sniper too. At the end, after the wreck, you could see the engine just sort of hanging out.
Yeah. In fact, I think they broke the tub, the kind of inner monocoque of that was broken, and they had to basically get a new tub and build from the parts that weren't broken from the crash. Basically, build a brand new car for the race. So yeah, they missed quali, and it was a real shame too because the Toro Rossos had pretty good pace all weekend, and we'll talk about that later. I think Kyvat just missed out on the top 10 in quali, didn't he? I think he qualified 11th.
Yes, he did. So Toro Rosso is showing a lot of pace in qualifying.
But their race pace, and this was interesting, I saw some analysis after the free practice sessions, their race pace was second only to Mercedes' race pace.
Really?
And you kind of thought, oh, that seems a bit, the data's just flattering them. But in the race, and we'll talk about Albon's recovery, and Kyvat, of course, had a controversial race, but if you ignore those things, the Toro Rossos did have good race pace, so it's a pity that for various reasons they didn't get a chance to show it, although Albon did have a great recovery, which we'll talk about. Other than that, in quali, people tripping over each other. Obviously, Bottas was on pole. I'm right? Oh, no.
Yes,
Bottas was on pole, just pipped Hamilton. Hamilton, all through free practice, didn't look to have a lot of speed. Bottas had the better.
Haas didn't get a lap in at all.
No, in Q3, they didn't get a lap in at all. And then Ricciardo finally beat Hülkenberg in quali, and kind of on merit, you would say. And it looked to me, and I know we're Ricciardo fans, so yes, we're very one-eyed at this podcast, but it looked to me like Ricciardo's slowly getting to grips with that Renault and starting to show a bit of turn of speed. So I think Hülkenberg had issues in Bahrain, didn't he, in quali? So, but it's now 2-1 to Ricciardo in the quali battle. And
as we know, it doesn't really matter because Hülkenberg went on to get an engine failure and not finish the race.
Well, we'll talk about the race. Yeah, that was a shame.
Actually, just on that topic quickly, I don't think nobody really, like the commentators especially, they were just like, oh, look, Hülkenberg's out, and then just got to something else. They really didn't pay much attention to it.
No, well, unfortunately, I guess a Renault leaving a race due to an MG UK failure is pretty much what you expect. So far this season, it's happened in every single race, if not one.
And so far this season, Ricciardo has gone on the same amount of DNFs and actual finishes, and in the exact same races last year. He didn't finish Australia this year, last year. Same for Bahrain, and he finished China in a good spot. Technically,
well, you could argue he was first. Yeah, he was first with the Red Bull last year in the A team, and
season's going very smoothly.
Yeah, and he was best of the rest, therefore first of kind of Formula 1.5, as some people call it. The only other thing to note about quali, I'm sure there's more, but the only other thing that I really took away from it is that the McLarens were really disappointingly slow. I talked them up a lot last week after the Chinese Grand Prix review. I noted that their pace was super strong, and I was excited about them. The same with the Renaults. Their race pace was better. We never got to see it, of course, because of what happened in the race to the McLarens. But yeah, they were kind of nowhere. And Carlos had actually led to this. I think he had said, I can't remember which order it was, but I think China's front axle limited and Bahrain was rear axle limited or something like that. And one suited the car better. So they were saying that for China, it really highlighted the kind of weaknesses in the McLaren package. But they were looking to be better in the race, except for what happened to them. So that was quali. Oscar, we moved on to the race, and it was pretty exciting before the race even started. I think we might have seen more action on an outlap than we saw in the race, or in the formation lap. We saw 2 spins, I think.
Kubica was one of them.
And it was Verstappen, right?
Yeah.
And Verstappen's turn as well. I was watching, as I went back to watch kind of Ricciardo start after the race on F1 TV, I was watching from his cockpit in the formation lap, and you could see Verstappen spin in front of him. And I got to tell you, I imagine Ricciardo had one of his trademark big smiles on his face when he saw Verstappen spinning on the outlap. But anyway, yeah, so obviously cold tyres. We've seen this a bit now. With the tyre warmers being at a lower temperature, and people just struggling and having spins at kind of odd times. Anyway, it didn't affect the race. Both cars got back into their positions, but it was pretty funny. The story of this race, and if you listen to other podcasts or follow Formula One news, there's going to be this really simple story you hear, which is Hamilton beats Bottas off the start. So kind of a reverse of what we saw in Bahrain. Yeah. Hamilton got the jump this time. Bottas claimed that he got wheel spin because of the white painted line, and that he got a little bit of wheel spin. And
think that I believe him.
Yeah, no, I think that's true.
I don't think Bottas would be the type of guy just to make something up to make him sound better.
Yeah, he's not an excuses guy. He'll just say, I was slow if he was slow. No, I think he really did get a little bit of wheel spin, and that just gave Hamilton the lead into the first corner. And in many respects, that was kind of all she wrote in terms of the Mercedes battle. What was really interesting and what everyone's been dissecting since is the Vettel-Leclerc team orders, Ferrari team orders yet again.
And Leclerc's pit strategy.
Well. Look, I think you can, and everyone's got a view on, should Ferrari have told Leclerc to get out of Vettel's way. It does seem like Vettel maybe had an edge of speed.
I don't think so.
You don't?
No, I feel like Leclerc was just as fast as Vettel, if not faster. And the only reason he finished behind him is A, the team orders that made no sense, and B, the horrible pit strategy they put him on.
Yeah, look, I agree with you on the pit strategy. I think what was interesting is, if Vettel did have an edge of speed, and you might be right, I think it was marginal at that stage in the Grand Prix. What was interesting is Verstappen was kind of breathing down the neck of the Ferrari, so they were kind of putting that at risk. And that played out. I mean, Verstappen ended up beating Leclerc in the race. And I think you're right, Oscar, there was that pit strategy of Leclerc. Look, it looked like they kind of left Leclerc out to hold up Bottas a bit to give Vettel a chance. I don't know if that's exactly why they did, but it kind of looked like it. So they left out Leclerc a bit longer. That built up this huge gap. I think he came out 10 seconds behind Verstappen, and he had the fresher tyres, but he just didn't have enough speed to then make that up. So, yeah, it was a bit of an own goal. They came away with a 3-5 Ferrari. Arguably, they should have had a 3-4 on pure pace. Concerning to me was that Mercedes seemed to be back to their dominant ways. Ferraris are a bit faster in the straights, but the Mercedes make up for it pretty much everywhere else. I don't know if you've got the data in front of you in terms of what the gap was from Bottas to Vettel. But yeah, it was, it wasn't really much of a race up the front.
Yeah, I think the Bottas-Vettel gap was actually only 13 seconds. Looking at it now.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't that big. But so let's talk about Gasly for a second.
Yeah, okay.
He was 90 seconds behind Leclerc in the finish.
Yeah, I know. Well, he, it was pretty interesting. Was he 90 seconds behind Leclerc or 90 seconds behind Hamilton?
Behind Hamilton.
Yeah, so he was about a minute behind Leclerc.
He was close to getting lapped.
Yeah, but hold on, you got to remember something. He pitted towards the end to go after the fastest lap, right?
Yeah. But even if he hadn't pitted, he'd still be 60 seconds behind them.
Yeah, that's true. He was... Look, I mean, he got that P6, which is probably naturally where he would finish given Verstappen's faster and the Red Bulls are the third fastest team. But yeah, it wasn't a convincing P6. Does he get the 1 point for fastest lap? He bolted on some soft tyres towards the end to go after that. He wasn't miles and miles faster than the previous fastest lap.
Yeah.
And that was a shame. What was a little bit concerning to me is he had built enough gap to Ricciardo and P7 to be able to do that, to comfortably pit, go and have a chop at fastest lap. So, this race to me was, although it had some interesting elements to it, it felt like a bit of deja vu. Mercedes really dominant. The best of the rest, Formula 2 teams, Formula 1.5 teams, a fair way off the top three teams. But, if we ignore the top three teams, the battle then amongst, the Force Indias, Racing Point, I shouldn't say Force India, Racing Points, Renaults, the Toro Rossos.
Alphas.
Yeah, the Alphas even.
And tiny bit the Haas as well.
Well, Haas is amazing. They're so fast. Their one lap pace is excellent. They can stitch together a qualifying lap like nobody's business. But then in the race, they're just sitting ducks. They have no race pace whatsoever. It's just phenomenal to see. Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. There's obviously, I don't know if it's a tyre window issue or whatever the case may be. But anyway, but the start of the race, let's go back to the start of the race. So Hamilton jumps Bottas. Away we go. Leclerc jumps Vettel, and later on we get some team orders. But then we see Kyvat. and a couple of McLarens
The
coming
torpedo
together.
returns.
No, look, I'm gonna defend Kyvat here.
It was an easy mistake.
I think that drive-through penalty was super harsh.
Yeah, I agree.
He gets a little bit of oversteer through turn 3 or 4 or whatever it was, and Sainz is behind him at that stage, so he gets a bit of oversteer. His back end touches Sainz. That sends him then spearing off a bit more to Lando Norris, who's coming back onto the track, and then he connects with Lando. Look, it was unfortunate, no doubt. Did he lose control momentarily with a bit of oversteer? Yeah, but it's lap 1.
Well,
he's in traffic.
Yeah.
Sainz is behind him. Yeah, I thought it was really rough.
Yeah.
And, I've watched some of Kvyat's race after that, and he was overtaking people left, right and centre. His racecraft looked really strong.
He eventually went on to DNF, though.
Yeah, he did.
Damage.
He did, unfortunately. Yeah, he had some damage. How did the McLarens finish up? I think Lando DNF, did he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he had a fair bit of damage. And Sainz did finish in the end?
Sainz finished, but 14th.
Yeah,
so not very well.
and that was a shame because I think the McLarens would have had better race pace. But if you look at the Toro Rossos, going back to Albon, so Albon starts in the pit lane after not participating in quali, and just cuts his way through the field. Just fantastic race.
Finishes 10th.
Yeah, gets 1 point out of look. He needed that after putting all that damage into into FP3 as a rookie. It looks bad. Kvyat's then had these, run-ins. But I've got to say, if you're Toro Rosso, you're going to say it was a tough weekend, but really promising. You got points out of Albon, who had a great race. And Kyvat, before he got the drive-through penalty, was carving it up. He was coming through the field and was really quite impressively fast. So, yeah, I think it was unlucky for Kyvat. Albon was his own fault in FP3 a little bit, but he's showing a real turn of speed as well. And I look forward to seeing the Toro Rossos. I think they're going to be in the hunt, and I think they'll be in the hunt more than potentially the Haas's and the Racing Points. Although old Checo had a great race, Sergio Perez. So let's talk about that battle, Oscar.
Yeah. Okay, and before we do, just so we can get this over with, Williams, slow, finished a lap behind everything else.
I was going to ask.
That's it.
I've got in my notes here, Williams question mark. I was going to say, what happened with Williams again?
They were slow. They propped up the stands again. Nothing really to say on that. But back on Perez. So
they did actually, hold on one sec. Williams did occasionally.
Slow.
But they did race a little bit, right? Because all these people were getting...
They raced each other.
But didn't they get to race once or twice because of all these other cars with damage and stuff?
I think Russell was in 14th at some point.
Yeah, I thought because of all these, everyone, I think they double stacked the McLarens for changes after they both got crashed into by Kyvat. Obviously, Kyvat stopped it. Okay, sorry, move on. Okay, slow.
So as we saw at the end, Ricciardo, Perez, and Raikkonen all got into relatively close range of each other. And Perez, I don't know, I feel like Ricciardo kind of knew, but I'm not sure how much he knew, because Perez was within 1 to 2 seconds of him at all times through the end, and he dipped below 1 second a few times, but every time he did, the gap would just shoot back up again.
Yeah, those guys were on one stoppers, right? So they were managing their tyres, and I saw a little bit afterwards. Checo basically said, look, Ricciardo, I was in kind of fighting distance, but every time I'd go to mount an attack, Ricciardo would speed up. And he said, so it was clear Ricciardo was just managing his tyres and the gap. He wasn't going any faster than he needed to get that one stopper to work. And you could argue that's why the Renaults look so slow as well, because they did that one stopper, which, surprisingly after Bahrain, where they put Ricciardo on that and it was going to kill his race before he broke down, they did it again. This time it worked out. So Checo, but had a great start, remember? So Checo, where did he start? He qualified.
He qualified
P15 or something?
12th.
Okay, 12.
But he got a cracker of a start. He just, on the first turn, that really long right-hander, he just went around everyone.
And he went around them. Like, he just drove around them. And even some turns later.
And he was fighting with Ricciardo.
Look, he got Hulkenberg.
At the very end of the start.
Yeah, he got Hulkenberg, and then he was having to go at Ricciardo. Ricciardo managed to fend him off, and then to some extent they kind of sat there. Now, Raikkonen kind of came into play later in the race, didn't he?
Very close to Perez.
He was on a two-stopper, I guess, because he kind of came at them towards the end of the race on
He came within
fresh tyres.
1 second of Perez. He looked like he was about to start, but then started falling off very rapidly.
Well, actually, he got a blue flag. So I think he took the best out of the tyres, and then I think he got blue flagged, and that kind of undid his attack on Perez right towards the end.
Yeah, but then Perez got blue flagged.
Yeah, the blue flag started to affect that race.
But I noticed it says here Ricciardo was a lap down, but he never actually got lapped in the end.
Yeah, he did. He was getting blue flags, so they must have been getting lapped.
I think he did.
Yeah. No, I think he must have got lapped, right?
Okay, so I think that's everyone race-wise. So
hold on.
Wait.
What do you have to say about the Hasses? I mentioned them earlier.
Yeah,
just
race pace, good 1 lap.
No race pace whatsoever. Grosjean in P11 was he in the end? Yep. But which actually is probably better than I thought he did. Stroll down in P12. Once again, better race than a quali for Lance, but he probably needs to be doing a little bit more than that. I would be saying, and then as you mentioned, don't be one of the commentators, Oscar. Let's mention Hulkenberg. He had that MG UK failure. He was having a pretty good race as well. Again, I was on board with him.
He did get overtaken by Perez, as you know.
He did at the start, but then he was having a pretty good recovery drive. He was on the two-stopper, was going pretty well, and then, he basically said, I'm losing power like they always do, and he started to get it overtaken, and eventually they just... and actually, it was funny, you didn't see this, I think, on the onboards. They basically said, keep hitting the reset button. Like, it was basically reboot the computer, and he tried that numerous times, and they couldn't recover it. It sounded like it was kind of a software issue rather than a hardware issue.
Which I guess is a good sign, right?
Well, hopefully, because they're going to run out of components. But, but it was an MG UK thing yet again. And poor old Hulkenberg gets his second DNF in a row. So I guess that's 2 for him now and 2 for Ricciardo. No, Ricciardo, 2 DNFs for Ricciardo, 2 DNFs for Hulkenberg.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, now... I was wondering, so we should start a segment on this podcast, right?
What should we call it?
Something special we do. So I noticed that you proposed to me a while ago the happy, sad things. Each driver would be either happy or sad or how they would feel about the race.
Sure, yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay. Well, do we want to each rate each driver or do you want to alternate drivers?
Let's just go down the order of how they finished.
Okay.
So, Hamilton.
Happy.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, the guy's winning the world championship now.
He finished first.
He was, and just to add to that, in China, he was not comfortable all weekend. Actually, he had a really solid race. Apparently, he's been working on his starts. I presume they all work on their starts.
How do you do that, though? Because you're not allowed to just
simulated,
get in the car.
I guess. And they do it. They do it during practice at the end of the pit lane. He'd be delighted. He's winning the world championship. Arguably, has had the fastest car at, I guess, 2 of the 3 Grand Prix now. Bottas, though, is looking pretty good. Bottas wasn't embarrassing either. He was only 6 seconds behind, so he kept Hamilton honest. Bottas 2.0 is still with us, I think, which is great.
One thing Hamilton might be a bit upset about is because he didn't get the fastest lap.
Yeah, true. Fastest lap. We saw what we thought we might see with fastest lap, though. Someone pit stopping to get soft tyres. Get it. Okay, well, what about Bottas? Is he happy or sad?
He's happy.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you.
Happy.
No, I agree with you. I think he's going to be, pretty satisfied. He can kind of console himself with he got that wheel spin, kind of sort of not his fault off the start, and that was it. And otherwise, he kept Hamilton honest and he got pole position.
I'm going to say 7 out of 10.
Let's not do ratings. Yeah, just do happy, sad. Okay, see, Sebastian Vettel. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't.
Sad.
I can't imagine either of the Ferrari drivers being very happy at the moment.
Yeah,
I'm going to say Vettel is sad as well because, they after their pace in Bahrain, where they couldn't capitalise, they had no pace. Look, actually, 3rd is probably the best he could hope for. So maybe he's a bit medium. Based on China
4
alone.
Out of 10.
Yeah, well, maybe he's like 6 out of 10. So P3 is the best he could hope for, and the team are still favouring him.
Verstappen, happy.
Verstappen happy.
He beat Leclerc.
Yep, that's true. Verstappen happy to have beaten Leclerc. Verstappen still unhappy because he doesn't have the package to fight at the front.
Yeah.
The Honda is better, but still not everything it needs to be.
6 out of 10.
Yep.
Leclerc's sad. We already talked about that.
Leclerc beating himself up for making mistakes, and Leclerc will be sad, but he'll be sad at himself and no one else. And it will be interesting to watch how long it takes him to get really frustrated with team orders.
Okay, Gasly
happier than he's been all season.
This is the first time he's actually been with the rest of the top teams, and he got the fastest lap.
Yeah, he'll take a look, but he'll be sitting there going, "But I was still a minute slower than my teammate, and I qualified, a long way off him." And so he'll be happier, but I think he would be far from happy.
7 out of 10.
Yeah. Ricardo
happy.
Happiest he's been all season, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's the best he could have hoped for.
Yeah.
He might have wanted the fastest lap, but I doubt that could have happened.
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
He won't be happy to have seen his teammate break down yet again. That'll be on the back of his mind. But he'll be the happiest he's been all season as well. Checo, super happy.
10.
Yeah, Checo's got to be super happy. The Force India Racing Point is still coming off the back of that lack of investment through the back half of last year. I think Checo will be delighted with that result.
I'm going to say 9, actually.
Yeah.
Just not 7. So.
Kimmy?
Happy. I
think Kimmy would be happy. He scored points in every race so far.
Could have beat
I think, though, he didn't make it through to Q3, and that's the first time he hasn't been in Q3 since...
ages.
Since the dinosaurs roamed the earth or something like that. But I think, he's showing up Giovinazzi. He's getting solid points. I think he's doing well. Albon.
8. Okay. Albon.
Super happy. Super sad after
happy.
FP3.
What more could he have hoped for?
No, great.
10 out of 10.
Great race. Grosjean?
Sad.
Grosjean's sad. He beat Magnussen, so he's happy for that. But he's frustrated about race pace. Stroll. Sad
Didn't
because
do nearly as well as his teammate.
Yeah, Checo, probably not too worried about it because his dad owns the team, but no doubt a little bit sad.
Magnussen's sad, and he's always sad. So, but other reasons he was slower than his teammate.
Yeah, Sainz sad, happy.
He got hit, so maybe he finished the race. Yeah. I'm saying in the middle, 5 out of 10.
I reckon the McLaren drivers, though, in general, will be feeling confident because the McLaren package finally looks like it's got potential.
Okay, he can be sappy.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I'm excited about McLaren. I know I've said that before, but I think they've got potential. Giovinazzi's sad.
Yeah.
Nothing. His season just hasn't started yet. Russell and Kubica, they're both super sad.
Yeah.
Kubica in particular.
Kubica's a good driver, as we know.
But Russell's beating him, in every quali session and every race so far. There's some argument that Kubica's got something wrong with his car, and I think they got Russell to drive Kubica's car in Bahrain or something. But
did that
to test it? I don't know. There's some story going on. They still don't have enough parts. It's
fundamental
a mess.
Issue thing I talked about last episode.
They've got old mate back. I can't remember his name. The guy from way back in the day. They've brought back in
Kubica.
No. The engineer that was with Frank Williams that founded the team.
Didn't he win races?
No, he wasn't a driver. He's an engineer.
Yeah, but he made winning cars.
Yeah, back in the day. So he's back. But yeah, anyway, Lando, like Sainz, I think disappointed with the outcome here, but in general, probably feeling kind of upbeat.
Kvyat upset, depressed.
I don't know. I think Kvyat's going to be like, I got treated this way because of my reputation and it was unfair. What we need to see is, can Kvyat maintain the mental strength and not start to let this get him down because the car's fast and he's fast. And so, I think it's really, if Kvyat is happy, then I think he's going to have a great season. If he's letting it get to him, then it's going to spiral out of control. But
Hulkenberg's sad.
Hulkenberg, just, a very, very sad man. But
probably more angry than sad.
Yeah, frustrated, I would say. So, so an interesting grid at the moment. It feels like we describe more sad people than happy people.
Okay, so quickly, let's go on to what do we expect from Baku?
Baku, well, we expect action and we expect crashes.
Well, we all saw last race, right?
Yeah, that's true. Look, it's an interesting course, isn't it? Street circuit, some technical type bits, but then the longest straight man's ever seen.
It's not really a straight, but it's very long.
It's a long full throttle.
Accelerating.
Yeah, it's a long full throttle area.
When I play on F1 2018, I always get the packaged wrong, and the finish line is like so far to the end of it. So people are overtaking me on the last lap, and I just have to crash into them to prevent them from overtaking me.
Look, I don't know. The Ferraris are super fast on the straight still. Will that really help them out? The Mercedes still going to make it up in the corners. Who knows?
I think it might help help them out because this is a very fast circuit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Look, I think we're up. It'll be an exciting race. Ever since it started, except for the first race, it's been an exciting race.
I really can't make predictions on Baku, actually.
And we want to see some redemption, right? There's people that need to have some redemption here. Toro Rossos need a clean race where they can show their pace. McLarens need to finish. Renaults need to finish. The Haas's need to actually get their race pace back and do better than just quali. Ferrari, Leclerc will want a race win.
Leclerc deserves a race win.
He'll get one, you've got to imagine. But
this whole season, 21 races.
Yeah, so look, this is Easter weekend on a Saturday that we're recording this. The race weekend starts come Friday. So, yeah, Formula One and Sun, of course, we'll be back covering the Baku Grand Prix. Yeah. Until then, Oski, any final thoughts?
Follow us on Twitter.
And follow us on Twitter,
please.
Formula One and Sun.
Formula One and Sun.
At Formula One and Sun.
And Reddit as well, we're just Formula One and Sun.
We're on Reddit as well as Formula One and Sun. You can see our thoughts and comments on there.
And also, sorry about the late episode. We've been quite busy with other things.
That's all right. Gives us time to reflect. So that's it from Formula One and Sun. And I am Formula One and you must be Sun.
Nobody really cares about the Formula One. It's just Sun. It's all about the Sun.
So that's it from Formula One and
Sun. Thank you.